Okay, so this is it. This is the final video that I will be making about the group prediction, as I'm pretty much predict every single group except for two, and that of course is Group G and Group H. And after when I finish this video, I will be predicting, or not predicting, but I will be previewing the first match of the World Cup, which is Saudi Arabia versus Russia, which happens tomorrow. It's hard to believe, but the World Cup is definitely coming. And sure, yes, Saudi Arabia versus Russia probably is not the best opening kind of match that you will ever see in a World Cup, but at least it gets you excited because of the fact that it is finally here. This tournament that usually only happens once every 4 years is about to commence again. But before that, we're going to have to finish with Group G and H, and we're going to start with Group G, which has the team like Belgium, Panama, Tunisia, and England. And this group should be pretty straightforward because you got the two big European teams in that group, and the other team that is not European doesn't look like they could maybe really kind of compete in this World Cup, but you never know. Either way, let's start in fourth place. And this is an obvious one because this is a team that is, I think, making their 6th or 5th tournament in their history, and they have so far won 0 World Cup games. They have drawn twice in their history, that is Tunisia, and one of them, I think it was against Argentina or Brazil back in like the 70s or the 90s. But Tunisia have never won the World Cup. Or never won a World Cup game. Well, they never won the World Cup, obviously, but they have never won a World Cup game. And with the way that this group is, I doubt that they're going to win one either way. I mean, maybe the only one that I can say that they potentially can beat or get a win is against Panama, but I don't see how they can get a win against England unless England decided to pull another Iceland like what they did in the Euros. So yeah, I expect Tunisia to be finished in 4th place, and even with a win, I don't think it's enough for them to qualify into the next round. And also, they are considered, besides Saudi Arabia that I said back in the first group, this is one of the weakest teams in the tournament. So Tunisia is going to be in 4th place, and then in 3rd place, it is going to be Panama. So just like Costa Rica, where I talked about how there's a lot of MLS player that is going to be playing their World Cup with Costa Rica, it's the same with Panama. I think there's 6 players that is actually going to be on this Panama national team that's going to the World Cup, and those 6 players include 2 of the player that plays for the Quakes, Honorable Godoy and Howard Cummins. Most likely Godoy will be starting for Panama because he usually starts for Panama and usually play in the midfield. And as a Quakes fan, I am just praying to God that Godoy actually have a very good tournament, because right now the way that Godoy has been playing for the Quakes has been absolutely hideous. And I can only think the only reason why he's playing very hideous, and the only excuse I can give him, is that he is preparing for this World Cup. And that if he actually have a good World Cup tournament, then I think that when he does come back with the Quakes, he will be much, much better. Like, that is literally the thing that I really hope for, because right now, as you already know, the Quakes season has been absolutely shocking. And most likely Howard Cummins won't probably be starting in the national team because he can't even make it into the Quakes team on most of the time. And even when he started for the Quakes, he looked absolutely awful. But yeah, there are other guys on this team from other MLS clubs. For example, Roman Torres, who I think he might be starting for the Panama national team alongside with Godoy. But he is another guy that haven't really done very well with his MLS club, which is the Seattle Sounders. Well, to be fair, everybody on the Seattle Sounders have not had a very good season, but he's been kind of out of favor with that team, and he is also getting older. And other guys like Michael Murillo, Fidel Escobar, not quite sure if they are potentially going to be with this team in terms of starting. They might be on the bench and stuff like that. But the overall story about Panama is that they are going to be trying to be a team where they're going to frustrate opponent. They're going to try to make their opponent tough to beat. And as a U.S. fan, I can guarantee you that if you're these three teams, you are going to find it tough to break down Panama. They are very defensive organized. Their formation that their manager are setting in is very, very defensive organized. And, you know, it's good that they can be very defensive organized, but the problem is where the heck is the goals going to come from? And that is a big issue for Panama and probably is the reason why they are not going to move on to the next round. But yeah, in second place, it's the team that I'm going to be supporting in the World Cup. And that, of course, is England. So unless they don't do anything stupid and don't really just underachieve like they've been doing for pretty much every single tournament since the 70s, I think England should be making through this group. You know, this team definitely has a very young, kind of talented kind of team. A lot of guys on this team plays in the Premier League. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of guys. Every guys on this team currently play in the Premier League. Certainly, I'll be hoping that Harry Kane will actually have a better tournament than when he had in the Euros. And we'll also see, certainly for England, probably the one big impact player besides Harry Kane is going to be Raheem Sterling, and see how he is going to do with this team. But one thing that I am a little bit concerned about this England team is the back line. The back line is not very strong. I mean, you know, they have Gary Cahill and I forgot who was the other defender. And I should know because this is the team that I support and I should know everybody on this team. But I just have a feeling the back line could be a bit of an issue. But other than that, I think this team should be making through the next round. And they shouldn't be having the same thing that had happened last time. I mean, last time, the reason why England didn't make through the group is because, one, you have a bunch of guys that is being kind of selfish, and two, they were currently managed by a manager that basically is now the manager of Crystal Palace and pretty much is the same manager that basically lost to Iceland in the Euros. And yeah, hopefully this time it's a little bit better. I hope. But in first place, this is probably a lot of people's favorite, and that is going to be Belgium. So one thing that is interesting about Belgium, and actually there's no I right here, but one thing that is interesting about Belgium is that you have so many talented players on this team. Guys like Eden Hazard, Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, Carrasco, and all those guys. The problem, I think, with Belgium is that, yes, they have a lot of talented players, and yes, this is the golden generation of Belgium, but it just feels like they are just not there yet in terms of being favored of winning the World Cup. I just think that they're a team that is just a step below the likes of Brazil, Germany, and France in terms of those teams that potentially can win the World Cup and favorites to win the World Cup. So, yeah, certainly Belgium, I think they'll definitely make it out of this group. They'll probably finish top, and I would say that they'll probably make it deep into the tournament, but the deepest I can see Belgium make it through is maybe the semis, and then they might bump into Germany or Brazil or something like that, and then they potentially are going to get knocked out by that. Because if they face like those big three team that is Brazil, Germany, and France, I'm pretty sure that they're going to lose that one. Well, maybe France. You know, France, I know a lot of people talk about how they potentially could be one of the favorites and stuff like that. But did you also realize that they just drew against the U.S. and the U.S. was playing an under-23 squad? I mean, yeah, that was a friendly game, and yeah, you know, it's just a pre kind of World Cup tune-up. Those usually doesn't count, but still, you do not lose to a U.S. team that is basically playing their under-23 team, and you lose to them at home, nevertheless. So, yeah, I don't know about France. in terms of, can they eventually kind of get it together and stuff like that. But that's obviously another story that we will find out later on. And I kind of got off track a little bit because France is not even in Group G or Group H right now. So yeah, and speaking of which, let's move on into Group H. And Group H is what I call the wild card group, because you got 4 teams that is currently certainly could beat each other, and you got 4 teams that are certainly not very kind of strong kind of teams. And just like what I said about Group D, this is going to be another group where it's just almost impossible to predict this group. But I'm going to try my best, and we're going to start in 4th place, and I'm going to say Japan is going to finish in 4th. And if you have seen most of my videos, you have seen that pretty much every single video that I did, I put the AFC team usually at the bottom of the standings. And this is no disrespect to AFC team and certainly Asian team, but they usually don't do well in the World Cup. And in the last World Cup, none of the Asian team moved on. And I think in 2010, only one of them made on, but they usually don't do very well in terms of tournament. And if there is anybody that is in that Asian kind of confederation that can move on, it's going to be Japan, because this is a team that is very defensive organized. But one problem with this team is, where in the world is the goal going to come from? I mean, I know they definitely have good attacker on this team, guys like Shinji Kagawa, Honda, and also, I don't know, you could say, or is he could potentially be a good striker for you, because I don't even know if he's even with Leicester City anymore. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where in the world does the goal come from, because Kagawa and Honda is not the guys that, they can score goals, but those are not the guys that you should rely on, because those are the guys that are the creative players. So it's a little bit too much to ask for both of those players to be a creative player and then also be the big impact player. Although most likely that is probably what's going to happen with Japan. So for me, I'm going to say that they're going to finish in 4th place. And in 3rd place, it is going to be Senegal. That's going to finish in 3rd. And, Senegal obviously have Sadio Mane on their team, but even with him on that team, on this Senegalese national team, he does not score a lot of goals for them. It's not like this. He is like the main guy on that team, and he is the guy that you should really rely on heavily. And it's shown in the qualifier round too. He only scored 2 goals in that qualifying round, which is actually tied for 4 different players on this Senegal team that scored 2 goals. So, this is a team that certainly, I wouldn't say they have goal score, but they certainly have a lot of different players that can score on this team. But, it's not a very talented kind of team if you look outside of Sadio Mane in this. Or, well, actually, they do have that guy from Napoli who, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot his name. Oh, Koulibaly, I think that's how you pronounce it. That was the guy that Chelsea was pursuing what seems like for the last couple of seasons, and we still cannot able to sign him. And that is the guy that I think they're probably going to also rely on in the defensive end. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know if Senegal can really go through that much. In many ways, I feel like I should have put Japan in 3rd place, because at least Japan, they have some good talent, and they do have a very kind of compact and organized defense. But yeah, I'm just going to put Senegal there, and maybe they can surprise me and move into 2nd or 1st place, because this group is just so unpredictable. And in 2nd place, it is going to be Poland. And for Poland, I think, this is a team that can easily finish 2nd, but it can also easily finish 4th, because besides Lewandowski, they don't really have a lot of talent on their team. And Lewandowski is probably going to be the X factor for Poland, and he was pretty much the X factor in the qualifying round when he scored 16 goals and was the joint tie highest goal scorer in the qualifying round. So it just feels like everything is going to give it to Lewandowski. And if Lewandowski can score goals, and if he of course is able to carry this team like he did in the qualifying round, then most likely they're gonna move on. I mean, I'm not saying that Poland does not have a lot of good players on their team besides Lewandowski, but it's just they're nothing like Robert Lewandowski. This team is literally defined by Robert Lewandowski, and if he scores the goals, then I think this team will move on. If he doesn't, then they might struggle to move on. And yeah, so that obviously now leads us to first place. And again, like I said about how this group being unpredictable, I'm not quite sure if Colombia is going to finish first too, because Colombia, they still have James Rodriguez on their team. They still have Falcao. They have Cuadrado and all those kind of players that you probably know for this team. But then again, it's just, I don't know if they can produce that kind of magic that they did back in the last World Cup, where they made it all the way into the quarterfinal and almost made it to the semis. And yeah, if there is a team that is probably unconvincing in terms of finishing first, it's got to be Colombia. And would you believe that the most unconvincing team that potentially is going to finish first in my prediction comes from the group that is just kind of like the wild card group? Because, as I said before, all four of these teams can potentially, when they face each other, all four of these teams has a chance to get a win off of each other. That is how unpredictable this group is. And, I kind of, in some way, now that I'm looking at it, I kind of maybe want to take back what I said back, I think, when I did the Group D prediction, where I said it was unpredictable in that group. Yeah, this probably is the most unpredictable group, and the one that I'm going to have dealt later on, and probably I'm going to get it completely wrong by the end of the group stage, which, by the way, I haven't even mentioned it, but I will look back at all the prediction that I made when the group stage is over, and then I'll make the prediction of who's going to win the World Cup. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Make sure you guys tell me what do you think of my prediction from Group G and H, and leave your own prediction in the comments below of which team is going to finish first, second, third, fourth for Group G, and so on for Group H. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.